All right, let's dive into the story of what might just be the unsung hero of heart health. It's a tale about a really crucial partnership happening inside your body, and honestly, understanding it could completely change how you think about one of the most popular supplements out there.
So, odds are you're probably taking vitamin D, right? For your bones, your immune system, and that's fantastic. But what if I told you that without its most important partner, you might not be getting the whole story, and you could even be creating an imbalance you don't know about?
Okay, first, let's talk about a nutrient we all feel like we know pretty well: vitamin D. I mean, it's a total celebrity in the supplement world. And you know what? It's famous for a very good reason. We all know it's absolutely essential for absorbing calcium, which of course is crucial for building strong bones. It's also a huge player in our immune function. It's the sunshine vitamin, and yeah, its superstar reputation is definitely well deserved.
I want you to think of vitamin D as kind of like a doorman or a gatekeeper. Its main job is to open the doors and get calcium into your body. But, and this is a huge but, where that calcium goes after it's inside, well, that's where things get really, really interesting. And that brings us right to something called the calcium paradox. It is the perfect example of having a very good thing, a vital mineral, end up in the absolute worst place. And here you can see that paradox perfectly. On the one hand, in our bones and teeth, calcium is the hero. It makes them strong, healthy, it's essential. But that exact same mineral becomes the villain if it starts building up in our arteries, making them stiff, unhealthy, and frankly, dangerous.
Now, here's the kicker. Taking high doses of vitamin D is fantastic at boosting your calcium levels. But remember, vitamin D is only the gatekeeper. It lets the calcium in, but it has zero say in what happens next. It doesn't give it directions.
So, who directs the traffic? Who's the one telling all that calcium, hey, go to the bones and stay out of the arteries? Well, it's time to finally meet the unsung hero of this whole story, vitamin K2. So how in the world does K2 pull this off? Well, it all starts with this incredible protein called matrix glycoprotein, or MGP for short. Just think of MGP as your body's own personal security force against artery hardening. In fact, it's the most powerful defense we know of. And this right here? This is the vital link. Vitamin D actually helps your body make more of this protective MGP protein. But there's a catch. When that MGP is made, it's inactive. It's basically switched off. It absolutely requires vitamin K2 to come along and flip the on switch so it can actually do its job. Let's just walk through that real quick. So, your body produces the MGP protein, but it just hangs around. It's inactive. It can't do a thing. Then, vitamin K2 shows up on the scene. It activates MGP through a chemical process. It's called carboxylation. And only then, once it's activated, can that MGP grab onto calcium and keep it out of your arteries. So what all this really builds to is one of the most important partnerships in your entire body. It's a true nutritional tag team. And here's probably the easiest way to think about how they work together. Vitamin D is the importer. Its job is to get calcium into the building. And vitamin K2, well, K2 is the traffic cop. It stands at the intersection and directs all that calcium to the right places, to our bones, and keeps it from causing a traffic jam in our arteries. So it leads to a really simple but kind of scary question, doesn't it? What happens if the importer is working overtime, bringing in more and more calcium, but the traffic cop just doesn't show up for their shift? Well, you get a serious imbalance. See, when you increase your vitamin D, you also increase your body's demand for these K-dependent proteins like MGP, and that means you need more vitamin K2 to activate them. If you don't have enough K2, you're just left with a whole lot of calcium wandering around with no direction. Okay, but you don't have to take my word for it. Let's look at the evidence that actually backs up this powerful partnership. This isn't just a cool theory. It's supported by some pretty significant research. So check this out. The huge landmark Rotterdam study followed thousands of people for over a decade, and it found that the people with the highest intake of vitamin K2 had a 50% lower risk of arterial calcification and cardiovascular events. I mean, 50% reduction. That's just massive. Now, observational studies like that are incredible. They point us in the right direction. But to really prove cause and effect, you need an intervention trial. You have to see what happens when you actually give people the nutrient and see what changes. And that is exactly what they did in this one-year trial. Look at these results. They're pretty amazing. The group taking the placebo, well, their arteries got stiffer, which is kind of what normally happens as we get older. But the group taking vitamin K2, there was no significant increase. They basically just hit pause on that age-related stiffening process. And just so you know, this was a solid study. It had 243 people who all had poor vitamin K status to begin with. They were given 180 micrograms a day of something called menaquinone 7, or MK7, which is just a really, really good bioavailable form of K2. And it showed these amazing effects in just 1 year. Honestly, this was groundbreaking stuff. It was the first clinical trial to actually prove that taking a vitamin K2 supplement could stop, or at least halt, age-related arterial stiffening in just 12 months. So as we start to bring this all together, the main takeaway is just crystal clear. Vitamin D and vitamin K2 are not solo acts. They are a team. They absolutely work in synergy to manage calcium in your body. It all comes back to that simple idea. One brings the calcium in the door, and the other makes absolutely sure it gets to the right address, into your bones to make you strong, and away from your arteries to keep you healthy. And that leaves all of us with one final and I think pretty important question to ask ourselves. Are you building strong bones, but maybe, just maybe, at the expense of your arteries?